Hey guys, so I want to talk about the post I made on March 5th of this year. I wanted to talk about it. I don't want to feel like I swept it under the rug and just forgot about it. So I wanted to address it. So we're gonna go look at my post I posted on YouTube, and we're gonna analyze it. So let me open Safari. Alright, so it says the first post 2 weeks ago. I apologize for the laggy video that was uploaded on March 2nd. The audio. Okay. So, I give an introduction here, documentation purposes and all that. So, I wrote down here, it says March 5th, 2026 is a fixed date where Comic-Con is expected to receive narrative rights for the city of Washington, D.C. Once it happens, I'll be free to cover it in depth, what it means and what it entails. Because I have the narrative rights or storytelling rights and whatnot to do so. As you guys may know, I went to Washington, D.C. in August of last year as a vet to obtain these rights. I noticed there was a gap where these were available. It wasn't public information. I didn't obtain them at the current time, but I was able to determine that it should happen on March 5th, 2026 or 2027. 2027 would be too busy in Washington, D.C., and I figured 20 would make more sense. Right off the top right here, I want to make a kind of a excerpt. Notice that I'm using DC right here. At the time, I didn't catch this. Usually I put the dots, but I put in DC. I've noticed that, I didn't know this at the time, but I noticed that I buy some stuff from people in Washington, D.C., things, you can import certain things from Washington, D.C., and they use D.C. As you see. That's the government, politics, and president stuff. But when you do DC without the dots, then you're not talking about the politics or anything like that. You're talking about the people. And I got to and I didn't realize that until after I saw something. I was I'm gonna buy it, but it's something you can buy from Washington D.C. And it said that D.C. is more than politics, government, and president. So it implies that there's two DCs. Now, when you're talking to somebody, when you're talking to people, when you say Washington, D.C., what DC are you talking about? You're talking about, no one's going to say D.C. See what I'm saying? I just wanted to put that out there. So let's continue. Here's what I said in the video and what I'm expecting to happen. Take notes. This has to be someone who hasn't showed their face on the world stage, who says America is detached from the world. I don't know who this is going to be, but given the recent events of Iran, we can talk about that, the differences. I noticed that someone, I didn't notice it at the time, but I was talking to somebody, and it was saying, well, I only heard it pronounced Iran. I was like, maybe there's a difference between of using those words. Like Iran can mean something different than Iran. I mean, there's not much of a video to make about that. I mean, I guess I could find evidence of that if I go online. If I really wanted to do it, I suppose I could make a video on that in the future. I guess, maybe. I kind of skirted around it with Ukraine and Ukrainian and all that, and grammatical cases and all that. But anyways, I said I wouldn't be surprised it would be someone from there. But I said, if we go down that branch of Iran, then it would look like this. Conservatives who support Trump would see as someone who supports Trump's decision with Iran. However, saying America is detached from the world is speaking two things at once. One, they support Trump making America first, but also the isolationist nature of the United States with Washington, D.C. This is where D.C., the city, and the United States separate. I didn't know at the time when I was writing this. In fact, I didn't know I didn't put the dots before I made this video. But as you can see, the isolation nature of the United States with Washington, D.C. So there's an isolation between the city and the country. And there's always been a difference between those two. Always a gap like that. Because of the Constitution. We talked about this. It says, this is why the phrase matters, which divides America, and using Washington, D.C. as a kind of proxy or middleman, which is given to Comic-Con. One narrative belongs to Trump, because he's in the White House, and the one side belongs to Comic-Con, the ones that I own, or that I would give to Comic-Con on my behalf. I said, see what I'm saying here? It's for plausible deniability, which is the CIA's game. I knew the CIA was in on this. So this person, take notes here, if it's someone from, well, you don't have to, I'm explaining it to you. If it's someone from Iran, notice I'm using Iran and Iran interchangeably here, then they would be manipulating Trump supporters as if this new person coming up supports Trump and his decisions to take out the Iran regime that came before them. It's possible, and I put in parentheses, it's possible that's the future Iranian leader. And more pro-CIA than Iran originally is claimed to be. It's the CIA that does the handoff of this narrative. That's what I was expecting to happen at the beginning. It's the CIA, not Trump, that has come upon these rights. And from there, if you saw one of my previous videos, I mentioned that DC doesn't have representation, and there was an entire message about that. That's what those narrative rights are for, to represent Washington, D.C., the city. And said, look what I put here, and this is, and I felt like I had to do this. Oh wait, you're not even reading it. I was reading from the side. I didn't even know you couldn't read it from there. It's not even going all the way down. OBS, Safari, whose ever fault this is. Okay, here we go. Now I can do it. I just had to move it up. So I pretty much read the whole thing to you. I said, and right here, and it's the first time I've done this, I put the false prophet at the bottom. I just felt like I had to do that. But look what this says. If you know, you know. The false prophet, Iran, the Iran regime, someone Trump followers would support, because they would support what they're doing in Iran. They would be on their side. Let me be more direct. Christian conservatives support what he's doing in Iran, which rises if you know the Bible and all that, prophecy, revelation, the Antichrist rises up out of Iran. Well, they believe he rises out of Iran. Well, not Iran, but Israel. But then you got to have some sort of evil in Iran. But Iran is also waiting for a second coming of Christ, who doesn't return until the age of 41. It's in the Quran. Actually, I think it's in the, the Hadith? Is that how you pronounce it? Hadith? I think it's the Hadith. What was that? I meant to open a new tab. I didn't mean to put that over there. They need to make this better. New tab. Hadith. What is the Hadith? Hadith are records of the words, actions, and silent approvals of the Prophet Muhammad, acting as the second primary source of Islamic law and doctrine after the Quran. So yeah, basically what I was saying. Is it the Hadith? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. I've never heard anyone say it before. So say the false prophet. So this sounds like, this doesn't have to be a CIA agent or spy or anyone like that. It can be someone who just happens to align with the CIA. And someone who Christian conservatives would support. And supports all this with Iran regime and all this. But is more pro-CIA than Iran originally claimed to be. So it doesn't have to be someone the CIA puts in power, but it can be someone who independently supports all that, and it looks as if they would be. But I do say that does the handoff for the narrative. So I'm talking about two different things. So I'm talking about the narratives, and I'm explaining how Iran would coincide with this. So that's the split. Iran is the split between both of them. So some of them see it as Trump's doing Iran, and some would say it's this other guy who's doing Iran. And if you're reading between lines here, you see I was actually right. I posted this on March 4th, which was a day before March 5th. You know what I say about March 4th and March 5th. If something involves me on March 4th or March 5th, I usually it's subtracted a day or it's added a day. Like February 18th, February 19th, March 4th. You know that. You know how I do the dates with that. So on the other side of the world, it would be March 5th. On this side, it would be... That would apply if... It would be March 5th directly if it was for the United States. But if you're talking about a foreign country that's based in a foreign country... And I should have caught that in this. I didn't catch that. In Iran, it would actually be March 5th. When it's March 4th. So, look at what I did. I wrote all of this. And look what I said. I said... there has to be someone who hasn't showed their face on the world stage who says America's detached from the world. What did I just say there? I said, I don't know who this is going to be. It could be anybody. But given the recent events of Iran, I wouldn't be surprised if it would be someone from there. So I didn't know who it was, but you could see you can see from there and how I didn't know who it was going to be. I didn't realize what I did, so either you see it or you don't see it. Well, actually, let's say you see it, but you don't realize you're seeing it. Let's say it like that. If you know, you know. So, yeah, I just wanted to make a video about that. I didn't want it to see like, oh, well, you just skipped over that. You usually are. That didn't actually occur to me. This whole thing didn't occur to me until March 13th. I was like, oh. I didn't want to choose that date. In fact, I'll show you why I didn't want to choose that date. I was like, please don't be that date. I was going to make a second part of that saying, well, if it doesn't happen March 5th, it could happen March 13th. I was like, I don't want it to be March 13th. And there's a reason I didn't want it to be March 13th. And this is why. When did the KGB get founded? The KGB, or Committee for State Security, was officially established on March 13th of 1954. It was formed to replace the preceding security apparatus MGB following Stalin's death in 1953 and served as the main Soviet intelligence and internal security agency until 1991. And that applies to both Ukraine and the FSB. Russia. There would be the SVU and the FSB. So I got those mixed up. I looked at the KGB. It wasn't. The founding of the KGB purpose was created. It wasn't created to handle foreign intelligence, domestic surveillance. It wasn't for that. Well, partly for surveillance. But looking at the information that I had gotten, it's more of a diagnostic of the Soviet Union. Diagnostic, looking at everything, taking records and all that. It was about what was happening internally. It wasn't domestic counterintelligence or anything like that. It was just looking at how things were going, and mapping how everything goes together. That was before it became founded in 1954. I believe that it was actually, well, I think it was happening during this time, but then after Stalin died, then it became the KGB we all know and love today. I was being sarcastic there, by the way. That we all know that it turned into it. That's what it is today. But back then, it was more of a diagnostic of the Soviet Union than anything else. So, guys, I just wanted to post that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.